And so I'll begin my comments there, is that I feel like there's a lot of bullying that's taking place. And I'll start with, let me add one number. Mrs. Strand talked about the number of hours that we've spent on FOIAs. The number is roughly 150 hours that have been spent just lately going through FOIAs. That's a lot of money by administrators, staff members to take care of that. Begin with, Mr. Padron and I have spoken on many of occasions, and I don't, we have agreed to disagree on how things are being handled. I believe that many of the issues could be handled privately. At one point, we had an agreement that that might take place. And I believe, I don't know, but I believe that the inability to have certain conversation about personnel issues with the superintendent has probably irritated him to the point where he felt like that he would not keep some things private any longer. But I do feel like that we're being bullied from the perspective of there is a mission to remove certain employees, and that if that does not happen, we'll continue to hear about what I would determine may be some ineptness, or maybe some other term, corruption, I don't agree with. I spoke about it at the last meeting. Corrupt has a negative connotation that does not necessarily fit with what's been going on. And whether all of the facts are there or not, it's irrelevant. There's some issues that are going on. The board is responsible because we vote for not only who's in charge of the division or department, as well as we also have something to say about discipline. We agree to personnel reports where we hire individuals, where we've individuals are hired that may not have the correct skills and knowledge to be able to perform the job. That does not fall under corruption. There are some other terms, but I won't aid that. I think I've said enough, and maybe somebody's not able to do their job. So I feel like we're being bullied in one aspect, that if certain people aren't disciplined, because we've been asked that question, why is this happening and not happening? It's inappropriate to discuss with anyone whatever disciplinary actions are being taken place. It will not happen. It should not happen. And no one's on a mission from God to do that and take care of that. Second place, bullying. I believe that over the last year as board president, I have remained silent on a lot of issues. If you ask any of the board members here, they've probably received about 5 emails from me all in a year. One of the reasons that I've done that is because I believe that our superintendent is responsible to answer questions, and when our board members want to participate in the process, they have to step forward. They were elected to ask the proper questions, to seek out answers, to do those things that board members are due. They were not hired to be staff. They are not staff members, so it's not their job to do those things. It's the superintendent's job. So in order for us to properly evaluate him, they have to take the initiative, as far as I'm concerned, to ask the right questions, to seek out information. In doing so, I believe that the articles that were written last week, that I thought the one article was accurate and tried to depict the things that took place in the meeting, but I also felt like because of my silence, as Ms. Terza said, you can't win no matter what you do. If you say nothing, people make up things. I feel like I was bullied, in this case by the columnists at the Beacon News, because of my silence. The writer has not taken the time over the last year to ask me how things were going, what my thoughts were. We haven't spoken in over 3 years, as a matter of fact, but I've been called a nemesis. I've been called equally opinionated. I agree with that. I am equally opinionated. Do I support the superintendent? I do. Will I budge? I have. Will I say to this audience the things that I've said to the superintendent privately? No, I won't. The superintendent knows, as well as I know, that there are many, many issues, including many of these issues to dealing with the buildings and grounds, that I've spoken privately with him about. I'm not going to come out publicly and say anything about the superintendent. And so it's, there was a comment made in the article that we don't show any passion for education. Well, what I will say to you is there's presentations that take place about education, and we don't see the newspaper columnist is not at those presentations all the time. And so there are things that take place. I'm working with 13 students from Calvert Middle School, students that the school presented to us that said that they had behavioral issues and some other issues going on. I shouldn't have to bring that up, but maybe if someone spoke to me, you could find out that I do some other things in the community, and I have. And my passion may not be here at this seat and in this, on this board, that you're going to see what is it that we're supposed to do when there's an education presentation. You look at the presentation, you ask appropriate questions, and you move on. Same old drama at East Aurora. I say same old drama at the Beacon News. And so why? Because, and that does not, I'm not speaking of Caitlin. I want to be fair in this. And so I made some decisions. I said, well, Ray, you know the election's coming up. You got a lot to lose. I sure do. But I also made up in my mind that I would stand on what I believe in. I'll speak out. I'll play things right down the middle. A lot of people don't like me because of that, because I play things down the middle. Everybody wants me to choose sides and go this way or go that way. I feel like I've been bullied. There were comments at the last meeting. I was quoted as saying that something about scholarships. That was taken out of context. I was talking about how we were saving money. That was not written in that particular article. That taken out of context. I talked about full-day kindergarten. I talked about the need that I would support that. That wasn't put in the article. And so when you say we don't have passion for education, then get the facts together, put them together, and not write sensational articles that I feel like, because I haven't said anything. So tonight I decided I'll take the bait. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. We'll let the chips fall where they may, and whatever happens with that. The last place is bullying. We see, I was quoted in the column as that I loathe my predecessor. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I don't loathe anyone. That is cruel thing to say, especially when we haven't taken the time to even have a conversation. I don't loathe anyone. I loathe individuals' behavior, their public behavior, their private behavior, and I loathe individuals that make up excuses for adults acting certain ways. And that's what I've heard over the years. I had a good friend of mine say to me, Ray, I loved your comments last week, but I don't know why you went in the direction that you did in some of your comments. Well, another choice that I made. Back in November, I talked about this board expelling students for certain types of behavior. And when I got home that night, I had a text on my phone. So we're going to move to bullying from there to the newspaper. And I just said I loathe the behavior. And so when I got home that night, I had a text on my phone. This is cyberbullying. I got home and I had a text that said, listen to your tape at B&G and then go expel yourself, Minister Hall. By the way, I'm not going to call the employee's name, gave copies to everyone. Maybe I'll play it at the next meeting. That comment was in regards to an argument that I had, a public argument that I had with Ms. Johnson. I believe it was 2011 or 2012. I'm not sure which year it was. And in that comment, in that argument or that dispute, that dispute started out with, my mother was paying taxes when your mother was living in public housing. That's where that started at. One of the things that I said in there was, you can bully other people, but you won't bully me. That argument, or that dispute ended with me saying some things about her mother. That was 3 years ago, but no one's spoken to me and said a word to me about how things are going. When I apologized the following week, there was no article about that. There was a public apology made. There was no argument about that. I sit here at these meetings, and if Ms. Puryear, like last week, Ms. Puryear said something to Ms. Johnson, Ms. Johnson responded to me as though I was pulling Ms. Puryear's strings over there. So when I get this text says, go listen, so now I'm going to be bullied. Maybe we'll play the tape. I don't have to play the tape. I just brought up the meeting. Now, so we're going to open up an old wound. Same old school district. My response to that was, if children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If they live with hostility, they learn to fight. I didn't make that up. That's a writer, Mrs. Nolte, that wrote a poem called Children Live What They Learn. I didn't make that up. There's nothing scientific about it. The response I got back was, yeah, that must be true about your mama too. Review your tape. It's all over town how you treat your wife. You don't fool anyone, not even the small group at the school. I loathe that type of behavior. It makes no sense whatsoever. This is scratching the surface of the type of bullying that takes place. Cyberbullying all the time. I have so many more of these that take place. But I get accused of wrongful things, and so I'm putting myself out on my political, quote, political career on the line because I have more to lose, but I feel much better. I tell you what, I've lost a lot of sleep over the years, over this, being on this board. It's been a many nights I've woke up 3 or 4 in the morning, couldn't get back to sleep. You take a lot of abuse from a lot of people. That's okay. I'm just saying, if you're going to psychoanalyze me, if you're going to stand up and criticize our processes, then let's be diligent and be fair about how we go about making these assertions towards this board. We are moving forward. Our board has made comments about the purchasing. It just says, well, we didn't have a purchasing agent, and that's why a lot of these things were taking place. Well, my response to that is, we were still purchasing, and so we should have had a purchasing agent. That's what the response was, my response. For 3 years, we went without having a purchasing agent. And some of these things that we're talking about that were taking place would not have taken place. I don't care if we had a new system in place or not. It didn't matter. These things could have been taken care of. And so now my request is that or I'm going to conclude with this. I'm not going to be bullied by anyone. It's not that important to me to be on this board to allow anyone to bully me, bully our staff at the district. It's inappropriate. We've had staff members, our board secretary here to my right, she's going to be mad at me, been brought to tears by a board member, And instead, the newspapers continually, they don't come and ask me anything. They go and talk to the bully. And what does the bully usually say? I didn't do nothing. That's what they typically do. And then that gets printed. So those are my comments for tonight.